There comes a phase on the spiritual path when everything within you longs to expand. Visions open up, sensitivity heightens, and your heart starts perceiving signs in every gesture of life. Moved by this new radiance, you feel the urge to tell the world what you're seeing. You want to prove that something inside you has awakened. But as Alan Watts once said, what we try to hold on to dissolves in our hands. The awakened soul learns an early, paradoxical lesson. There are revelations that only blossom when they are kept within. Silence is not absence, it is the womb of consciousness. Every true transformation begins invisibly, underground, discreetly, like a seed germinating in the darkness of the earth before touching the light. When we try to explain what is still being born, we rob the process of its mystery. And mystery is the very soil of wisdom. Today, I want to guide you through 5 dimensions of this sacred silence. 5 things the awakened one learns not to reveal. Not out of fear, but out of respect. Not out of shame, but out of love for what is still taking shape. And if these words touch something within you, leave your silent presence here, like this video, and in the comments share. What silence in your life has taught you more than 1,000 words? Chapter 1. Never reveal what is still being born within you. Every spiritual birth is fragile. There are moments when you feel a new truth moving inside, an understanding, a calling, a new purpose. Yet that force is still learning how to breathe. It's like a butterfly that, if touched too soon, loses the dust on its wings and can no longer fly. The impulse to share comes from a generous soul, but also from the fear of forgetting what was felt. We want the world to confirm what intuition has revealed. Yet when we speak too early, the unconscious closes itself again. Jung called this the violation of the symbolic process, revealing before integrating. The unconscious works in silence, like an alchemist mixing invisible elements. If you interrupt it to ask what it's doing, the experiment evaporates. So allow yourself to gestate your transformation in silence. Write, meditate, observe. Every great change begins privately, intimately. Do not rush to be understood, because to be understood too soon is to be interrupted. What is being born within you doesn't need an audience. It needs care. Chapter 2. Never reveal what you haven't yet learned to sustain. Some speak of light before they can withstand the fire it requires. We talk about unconditional love, unwavering faith, total surrender, yet deep down we still waver between fear and trust, and that's okay. The problem begins when we try to teach what we are still learning. Watts said, "Wisdom is not something you have, it's something that transforms you while you try to express it." If the teaching is still in motion within you, keeping it to yourself is an act of humility. Revealing too soon is like building a temple on wet sand. The foundation gives way under its own weight. To sustain is different from to repeat. To sustain is to embody what you understand. It takes time, body, and silence. Before explaining lightness, you must endure the process of stripping away the ego that wants to be seen as light. So when you notice something new in yourself, a calmness, a clarity, a power, test it in life, not in speech. Observe whether it withstands hard days, frustration and solitude. If it does, it's real. And if it's real, it doesn't need to be announced. It vibrates. Chapter 3. Never reveal what heals you in silence. Some healings cannot stand the light of the stage. There are wounds that close only when no one is watching. When you turn your pain into a story too soon, the wound begins to bleed again, because your focus shifts from the experience back to the image. Depth psychology teaches that healing is the act of staying with the pain until it reveals what it needed to teach. To speak of it before integration is to interrupt the soul's dialogue with the unconscious. That's why healing is a ritual of containment, a sacred space between feeling and speaking. Keep what heals you, not out of secrecy but out of reverence. Not everything needs to be shared. Sometimes the truest testimony is the silence of one who has transformed. When the pain dissolves, the face changes, the gaze changes, the energy field changes, and then, without a word, the world senses it. Something in them has healed. Silence heals because it returns power to your presence. To speak is to emit, to be silent is to condense, and every deep healing happens when energy stops leaking and begins to radiate. Chapter 4. Never reveal what the universe is still aligning. The universe is a silent weaver. While you try to understand the threads, it weaves destinies, encounters, synchronicities, and perfect pauses. But the ego, impatient and curious, wants to show the pattern before it's finished. And when we expose the tapestry in progress, the expectations of others start pulling at threads that don't belong to our design. Synchronicities are letters from the invisible. They're not trophies to display, they're instructions to follow. Every meaningful coincidence is a conversation between your soul and the cosmos. A coded message that only makes sense to the one who lives it. So protect the mystery. Write down the signs, but don't show them off. Revelation has its own rhythm, and the sacred withdraws when turned into spectacle. Alan Watts said, "Life is a divine game of hide and seek. The universe reveals itself when it senses that you can keep a secret. Miracles love discretion." Chapter 5. Never reveal what you do out of love. True love doesn't advertise itself. It acts in silence, like the sun that warms without asking for credit. But the spiritual ego, still hungry for validation, tries to display the purity of its intentions, and in that gesture, love loses its lightness, because it becomes a transaction. Look how good I am, how evolved I am. Awakened love is anonymous. It seeks no return, only movement. It's the act of compassion no one sees, the forgiveness that doesn't need to be announced, the good done for joy, not applause. Watts said, "When you love, you don't do it out of duty, you do it because you can't help it." That is the kind of love that creates worlds, the one that flows because it is natural. To reveal it too soon is to invite judgment, and judgment freezes the flow. So keep to yourself the offerings you make in secret. Let the universe see them, not the world. Because when love is pure, it is also silent. Conclusion. The vow of conscious silence. To be spiritually awake is not to know more. It is to speak less. It is not to accumulate answers, but to learn how to listen. Silence is the ground where being blooms. These 5 things, what is being born, what is not yet sustained, what heals, what the universe aligns, and what is done out of love, form the invisible circle of your spiritual maturity. They are not secrets of fear, but covenants of power. Alan Watts said, "The wise laugh without noise, shine without showing, and teach without saying." And Jung would add, "Silence is the altar of the unconscious." So take a deep breath now and ask yourself, what within me is asking for silence? Not as an escape, but as an altar. Trust the answer. That is where your consciousness is renewed. If this video resonated with you, leave your discreet gesture of presence, like, subscribe, and share this space with those who also walk the path of silence. Here, at the inner sanctuary, we remember that true awakening is not loud, it is serene, because only silence knows the name of God.